The main idea of Seaborn is that it provides high-level commands to create a variety of plot types useful for statistical data exploration. Let's take a look at a few of the data sets and plot types available in Seaborn. Note that all of the following could be done using raw matplotlib commands, but the Seaborn API is much more convenient. Often in statistical data visualization, all you want is to plot histograms and joint distributions of variables. I have already imported Iris dataset and Seaborn library along with matplotlib. In matplotlib, you can create histogram like this. This shows the distribution of data. It is slightly positively skewed. This is how you can create histogram in matplot. But in Seaborn, this can be easily done in a single line. Type SNS, which is the aliasing for Seaborn, next call method displot and pass sepal length of the dataset iris.set bins to 20 and kernel density estimation to false. I will discuss about KDE later. Run the code and see this is the same visualization as we saw with matplot, but see how conveniently it is done and the length of the code is minimized to a single line. Now set KDE is equal to true. KDE is a Gaussian camel density estimate. It is a way to estimate the probability density function of a continuous random variable. Let's learn scatter plots using Seaborn. The method is scatterplot. Scatterplot is the most convenient way to visualize the distribution where each observation is represented in a two-dimensional plot via x and y axes. The plot shows the relationship between the sepal length and sepal width in the iris data. Let me make it more informative by setting colors of data points belonging to a particular class. Add a hue parameter to the same code and set it to a class feature. Run the code. Now the visualization explains the setosa can be easily identified and has small sepal length and width, whereas versicolor and virginica are intermixed with each other. This gives us better visualization than the previous one. Now I'm going to discuss pair plot. A pairs plot allows us to see both distribution of single variables and relationships between two variables. Pair plots are a great method to identify trends for follow-up analysis and fortunately are easily implemented. Call the pair plot method and pass iris dataset to it. Set hue to class to differentiate data points of different class from each other. Size is now deprecated. Set it to height. The pairs plot builds on two basic figures, the histogram and the scatter plot. The histogram on the diagonal allows us to see the distribution of a single variable, while the scatter plot on the upper and lower triangles show the relationship between two variables. We can observe the variations in each plot. The plots are in matrix format where the row name represents x-axis and column name represents the y-axis. The diagonal plots are kernel density plots, where the other plots are scatter plots. Except data, all the other parameters are optional in the method pair plot. Coming to line plot. Seaborn line plots depict the relationship between continuous as well as categorical values in a continuous data point format. I'm dropping non-numeric column class from the dataset. So this is the line plot with legends. See the spikes and continuous nature of line plot. Sepal length has high values as compared to the rest of the PF features. Now let's move to Violin Chart. It is a method to visualize the distribution of numerical data of different variables. It is similar to box plot but holds more information than the box plots, such as giving more information about the density estimates on the y-axis. They are less popular. Here, you see the Violin plot for 3 classes. The fatter area have more data points. For Setosa, we have a higher density between 5 and 6. That is very significant because, as in the sepal length, a mean value is at 5.43. Now coming to box plot. A box plot shows the distribution of quantitative data across a categorical variable and is used to clearly see the outliers in a dataset. Copy the cell, paste it here, and instead of Violin plot, call box plot. In the plot, the quantitative data that we have used is the sepal length, and we are comparing it to the categorical variable class. You can see the median value, interquartile ranges, and outliers. We have outlier values in the Virginica species. Isn't it amazing that one simple line of code gives us this entire plot? Now I'm going to introduce another data set of a restaurant that shows billing information and tips given by customers in a particular time. The customers are differentiated on the basis of smokers and non-smokers. We have gender column as well. Now remove the unwanted column. Okay, now we can use it for visualizations. Here I'm going to call to facade grid to show the percentage of tips. The facade grid class is useful when you want to visualize the distribution of a variable or the relationship between multiple variables separately within subset of your dataset. A facade grid can be drawn with up to 3 dimensions: row, column, and hue. The first 2 have obvious correspondence with the resulting array of axes. Think of the hue variable as a 3rd dimension along a depth axis. The main approach for visualizing data on this grid is with the facade grid map method. Provide it with the plotting function and the name of variable and the data frame to plot. Let's look at the distribution of tips in each of these subsets using a histogram. Here, we are interested in the tips given by males and females. Next is factor plot method. It is used to draw a categorical plot onto a facade grid. Factor plot is informative when we have multiple groups to compare. Okay, now, factor plot is changed to cat plot. On Saturday and Sunday, both genders have given same amount of bill. On Fridays, males contributed more. Now we are interested in how many males and females gave billing amount, so we are using count plot. See, the major contribution is from the male customer. We have swarm, joint, rel, implots too. You can try them at your own end. Congratulations, you have finished the Seaborn tutorial for beginners.